Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Cade Museum for our weekly Rotary Club of Gainesville meeting for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. First off, we'd like to welcome all the Rotary Club members to the meeting and those on Zoom as well. And if you do watch the YouTube video at a later date, please send an email to info@rotarygainesville.org to show that you participated. Please silence your cell phones at this time as well. And first off, order of business, I'd like to bring up Mr. Pete Inwall to lead us in song and pledge.
Somewhere. Well, happy Veterans Day, a day after. Thank you. Some of you know that my grandfather served in World War I, and he was exposed to mustard gas. And so he was allowed to go on leave to Paris, and he was exposed there to pepper spray. And so after that, we referred to him as a seasoned veteran. We're going to sing the Star Spangled Banner today. If I can see through Gordon. There he is. Yep. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. So say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Go Gators! Will you join me in pledging allegiance to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And where's Ryan? Here he is. According to my agenda, you are introducing the prayer. Oh, there he is. Okay. Well, you're the prayer.
Playing the part of Ryan right now. Lori Vidal, please come up and give the invocation for today.
My dad's dad was a World War I veteran. Graduated from the University of Florida in 1913, and then served in the Merchant Marine. And he had the coolest sword that went with his uniform, and I was just all that's all I remember. But I'm very proud of my grandfather. Let's say a word of prayer. What an historic date! November 11th, 1918 was the day in World War I when an armistice was officially signed to stop the fighting. So many have served and sacrificed to fight for the good cause of freedom, so many lives, willing to serve and sacrifice for the common good. We are so blessed in so many ways right now today as we think about the life we enjoy in our community and in our nation. We ask you, Father, to help us celebrate and honor the many American veterans from many military conflicts. We can thank for providing the blessings we experience. Help us remember the spirit of our American veterans inspire us, to keep us willing to serve, willing to sacrifice for the common good of our communities. I pray in the name of our servant spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Lori, for that wonderful invocation. Now, right now we're going to have introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians. So if you have a guest, please stand and the microphone will be coming around to you.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. I'm very happy to have with me today Cadence Hanneman. Is that correct? Okay. Cadence was the former president of the Santa Fe Rotaract Club and is currently at UF working to reestablish a UF Rotaract Club. So welcome, Cadence, to our meeting today.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. I'm proud to introduce my neighbor, my golf buddy, Dwayne Roman. Dwayne is a 27-year veteran with the Navy. He's also a Vietnam era veteran and had the distinct honor of being called a Mustang. And those of you that don't know what a Mustang is, he was also E9, which was an enlisted man, and then retired as an officer. One interesting point about Dwayne is his entire married life. Not only did he love his wife, but he got to salute her because she was above him in the service. She was always above him.
Any other guests or visiting Rotarians? Okay, seeing none. Let's see, we have announcements now. So Dwight McKee, come on up for Seafood Spectacular. Coming up soon, coming up soon.
Hi, everybody. Seafood Spectaculars in 2 weeks. Got a flyer on your table. Got the QR code here. Oh, well, 1 week, 2 days. Okay, 1 week, 2 days. The 21st. Not this Thursday, next Thursday. Anyway, so you can get tickets over here from Wes, or you can use your phone and the QR code here to get tickets as well. Bring out your friends, your family. We'll have a great time. We had a cleanup event at Hatchet Creek last Saturday. We had about 15 people come out. It was great. Some of the new members came out. Chris Cano came out. Barb Gamble came out. It's a lot of fun and fellowship. We clean up together and we have lunch together, and it's a lot of fun. So we're going to have another cleanup this Saturday from 9 to noon. Lunch will be provided. Come on out. Have some fun with your fellow Rotarians out at Hatchet Creek. And with that, if you have any other questions or anything, I'll be here as well. And we look forward to seeing everybody at the Seafood Spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight, and I hope everyone can make that out. It's such a fun event. So at this time, I'd like to please bring up Susan Maston to make an announcement.
I just had an idea. After our great connection with you and our storytelling of Sustainable Cambodia last week, Dalton and Amy Baker said, we'd love to be sponsors, and which is, can you imagine how uplifting that was? So in that process, our partner in Cambodia, Sichu, whom you will meet when she comes to Gainesville next year, wow. Sichu put together a story right away and sent it to Dalton and Amy. And in her package is this amazing photograph. There's a picture on your tables. And this is the story. One of the young people sponsored by Dalton and Amy is the little girl on the left. Her name is Tong Di, and her family just received a cow from the Rotary donors. I couldn't believe the connection of that. So in this moment of joy, I want to just read real quickly. This is Americanized message, but the heart from the families is in here. Thank you for your great gift to the cows, to the family. Your support means the world to us, and we promise to care for the cows and pass on those in need. With heartfelt gratitude to Bobby Hall, Ben Campen, Doug Wilcox, Hochin Celeste Toma, Nancy Hart, Dink Henderson, Martha and Ryan Kern, John Joplin, Michael Pellet, and Buddy Goodman, your kindness will have a lasting impact. I love how quickly the universe just pulled us all together. For those of you who are sponsors, please take one of these home if you'd like. Thank you.
All right. Well, at this time, I would like to make an announcement about a GOC open house that's happening this Friday. Now, many of you know the GOC Gainesville Opportunity Center, and their work is in helping adults living with mental illness rejoin the community. They will be holding their 4th annual open house fall festival, at the Opportunity Center, and you can arrive anytime between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. I have their address if you're interested. Otherwise, you can find it online. And there'll be the other Rotary clubs of Gainesville will be in attendance as well. And we hope, Rotary has been a big part of their success here locally with support from the Wild Game Feast funds and other individual clubs doing work. So we hope you can be there to continue to support the really good work they do for that cause. And lastly, on my agenda is, I think we have a photo possibly coming up. This was the mini library, the first one that finally got installed, books in it, ribbon cutting at the Child Center for Early Learning in this Southwest Advocacy Group area. President Ryan was there, a number of our members were there. Also, Morgan Killingsworth was the young lady that brought the idea to us. So we have a total of 5. 2 have been installed out in that area, and the rest of them will be in the ground before you know it. So we're really excited about that. And I think at this point, I am going to be bringing up our President, Ryan Thompson.
Yeah, go ahead. So just sharing some of the images from our cleanup day at the seafood site. These are, coming off of our Facebook page. There's me up on the roof. Yes, your president that's afraid of heights is volunteering to get up on the roof to clean it. Also, a lot of good fellowship at those events. So highly encourage everybody to participate in those. Really helps us get the site cleaned up, and we have a good time doing it. Had a wonderful time at the mini library. Linda Kaplan, Naomi, Wes, Greg, Nancy Hart, we all had a great time sharing the joy and look forward to all the kids being able to use those books and really hope it brings a lot of success in their life. The board met last night for our monthly meeting. I'm pleased to announce that we have a new member, Ali Abbasi, if you don't mind standing. Welcome, Ali. Ali joins us from Pakistan, where he was a Rotarian, and I understand that your father was a Rotarian as well. Wonderful. Welcome to the club. Thank you. All right. Just a quick update. I mentioned a few committees that we were looking for people to step up, and they have. Really want to thank Marcia Kiner. She'll be leading our middle school service above self committee. Big thank you to Marcia. And Ryan Kern, a big thank you to you. He'll be leading the science fair this year alongside of John Gregory. We have the dictionary project. This year, our club is responsible for coordinating the dictionaries with the third graders. All the third graders within Alachua County Schools will receive dictionaries. Each club, each of the 4 Gainesville clubs rotates each year. This is our year. We have an opportunity for somebody to step up and help lead that effort. We had a member that was really passionate about it and interested in doing it. She's having to step away from the club for personal reasons, so looking for somebody to fill that position. We also are looking for somebody to help with the history committee. So if you're interested in history, our club has 106 years of it. I think it's really cool. So if anybody's interested in that, please let me know. And we are also looking for a treasurer. So Jeff Sims has graciously decided to stay with us to help keep things going, but that is a great need. We've reached out to a number of people and would really like somebody that's passionate about stepping up and taking on that role. With that, today's program is always an exciting one, and really appreciate Margaret for putting these together. Margaret Combs, please lead us in our Veterans Day program.
Brendan, it wouldn't be a Veterans Day program at Rotary if we didn't play each of the songs of the military services, and those who belong to that service stands up. And at the end, everyone stands up and applauds those who have served. So Brendan, be our guest.
March along, sing a song.
All right.
The army of the free.
Come on. Okay, we have one. We have two. Okay. Three. Okay. Next. Baby. There you go. All right. Don't sit down. You got to stay up. Army. Okay. Okay, everybody wants to. Okay, next. I wondered when that was coming.
To the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea.
Okay, I think there's one more. God love him, he searches them out and finds them. Is that it? We're missing the Coast Guard? Well, the reason it's important that we play the Coast Guard song is that one of our members here and a part of the program here was in the United States Coast Guard. So please stand up, Byron Flagg. And then everyone stand and applaud those who served. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is that it? He found it. Thank you. Now that you are a member, Byron, we must always play the Coast Guard song. And I learned, thank you all for standing, and I learned as we were putting this program together that we have always focused, while we have always focused on those fighting forces that would go overseas and leave our shores, we had a very important service, particularly during the post 9/11 eras, when that kept watch over our coastlines and kept us safe. And that's our Coast Guard. And we're grateful to have Byron not only here to speak today with us, to participate, but also as a member of our club. And we're grateful to have you, Byron. This has been an interesting program to put together because we've had some extraordinary people involved who weren't able to actually be here. And we're going to title this project The Changing Face of War. and the changing face of our veterans. And Pete's going to present the first part of the program.
We, to honor our veterans, we're presenting to you today a brief snapshot of the difference between the way veterans had to, or served, and experienced life after service versus the way they have experienced service and life after service since 9/11. These guys are post 9/11 veterans. And so I'm going to attempt to provide you with a contrast. And I must say that my presentation comes from Perry Clausen. Colonel Perry Clausen couldn't be here today. He was going to do this, and so I'm going to channel Perry as best I can. So bear with me. Prior to 9/11, war was tough. In World War II, Korea and Vietnam, men went out on patrols, which often lasted for days. Firefights were frequent. Sea rations were the standard fare, and you counted several overnights in the woods. And if you were wounded, you waited for medical attention for quite a long time, and if World War II in Korea, you often died. In Vietnam, the wounded were medevaced, of course, to better medical facilities, but there were delays which resulted in traumatic injuries or death. The Gulf War, the wars after the Gulf, after 9/11, came about as a result of attacks by other countries on American soil. This created a patriotic fervor in America and caused a lot of people to join the military, of which I'm sure these two guys are one or two. In many ways, things were better. In Iraq, soldiers could go out on a mission and return to their home base that day, at the end of the day. And they would then enjoy a good hot meal and be able to call home, and they could sleep in the same bed every night. Afghanistan was a little bit more of a problem, but it basically had the same routine, which was contrary to what people experienced before. The enemy was different. Instead of major battles, our soldiers experienced IEDs, explosive devices, and ambushes, which resulted in a greater loss of limbs, but then they were transported quickly to medical facilities which dealt with their injuries and resulted in a greater survival rate, which was a good thing. But it also resulted in a greater loss of limbs. And so after they were discharged from the service, they had to continue with their lives with this loss of limbs, whatever they suffered, also with PTSD. It was, they also experienced a higher incident of brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder, which affected their lives after their discharge. Homelessness and suicide have reached high levels because of the fact that they are still alive, but they also suffered greatly as a result of their service. Technology has also improved, and now some people don't even see the enemy that they're aiming at, but on the other hand, if the enemy finds out where they are, they don't last very long unless they move. The life of the individual soldier has improved, and his or her survival rates are much better. But different experiences have created different needs for our men and women. And winning battles and wars, instead of just prolonging them, has become not nearly as easy as it was in World War II. So I'm going to turn the program back over to Margaret so that you can hear from two guys who actually experienced the post 9/11 experience in their service. And we appreciate their being here, and we appreciate their service. So let's applaud them, and let's applaud Margaret back here.
Byron. Okay, thank you. In this case, because our club has so few post 9/11 veterans, today. That's certainly something we can look forward to, we hope, in the future. We're grateful to have Byron be a part of our club. And we have with us a Marine colonel. And you want to introduce him and talk to about him. Byron helped us put this together because he is a member of our club. Go ahead, Byron.
Sure, thanks. Can you hear me? Is that good? Okay. Well, it's a big honor. I really appreciate it. I'm a little embarrassed. I did what I did, and we'll talk about it. There's a lot of people that did a lot greater things and bigger sacrifices than me. But to my left is one of my really good friends, Chris Long. Chris and I actually got to know each other because we both started our legal careers at the state attorney's office here in Gainesville. And Chris and I were, I think, the only veterans in the office at that time. It was like, what, 2004, 2005? And there weren't many veterans who had recently been through the recent military experience. And so that was, he and I both bonded over that because we were kind of adjusting. So Chris, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Christopher Long. I was a full bird colonel in the Marine Corps. I was a M1 Abrams main battle tank commander. So when Maggie and Byron asked me to give this talk, I went through, I was in the Marine Corps for 25 years and 8 deployments, and got up to, I served as a platoon commander, company commander, company XO, and then a battalion commander of a tank battalion. And and they asked me to talk, and I kind of started wondering, okay, well, 99% of stories with Marines and tanks are not suitable for public disclosure. So, I think we all know what a tank's meant for, and what Marines can do with them and stuff, and what they can do when they're not using them. So, like I said, most of the stories probably aren't appropriate. So, just briefly, what I'd like to mention is that, we touched on the theme being how the face of war has changed, and the changing face of veterans. And if you think about it, it really hasn't. It still freaking stinks to do it, and a very small number of individuals roger up and step up to the plate to do it. I never ever should have made it as far as I did. I'm definitely a faulted individual, and if I could have spent the rest of my entire career as a captain, as a company commander, I would have gladly done it. But I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to serve with absolutely incredible enlisted Marines. And they had my back on everything, whether we were in the field or deployed or back stateside or whatever. I will tell you now, there's no deadlier weapon in the world than a young 18 or 19-year-old Marine Lance Corporal. And they are absolutely the most incredible young men that our country produces. I still have reunions with my staff NCOs at the house once or twice a year, or once every couple of years. We buy way too much booze and beer and just toast a lot of our fellow Marines and other service members. And but again, jumping back to the original theme, the faces of veterans and the faces of war, it hasn't changed that much. My grandfather was a young Marine in the Pacific. My father was a young Marine in Vietnam, and now both enlisted. Now my son is a young Marine. He just finished Parris Island, and I was the only knucklehead that decided to become an officer, and that was basically by accident. So whatever the nature of the weaponry used and the adversary you're facing, or the place you're deploying to, the people that cities like Gainesville and towns across the U.S. produce, they're just incredible young men and women, and just the fact that you guys are gathered together, today to discuss it and everything is, testament to this organization, I think, and you guys really get it. You understand what's important, and that says something to y'all, or something about y'all. So, anyways, I've already spoken way.
That's okay,
Much
Chris.
longer than I
We'll
meant
be
to,
back
so
to you. Don't
I'm out.
worry. In introducing Byron in this role, let me just say that it kind of changed my view, and I think Pete's as we talked. We always think about our military being over there, wherever there is, but we don't think about what our military does to protect our shores, to protect us in our homeland. And in talking with Byron, it became so important in my mind that we focus on this, because we know, we've experienced having the enemy here. And Byron, tell us a little bit about what the Coast Guard does and what you did.
Well, the Coast Guard's motto is Semper Paratus, which means always ready. So that's fitting. It's a motto that is, I think, all of us that served in the Coast Guard, we take it to heart, and it's with me every day of my life, and it helps me adapt. It helps me, stay relaxed in any kind of situation. You just figure out how, and it's a lot like the Marine Corps, adapt and overcome. By the way, interesting history, the Coast Guard and the Marines have a lot of respect for each other going back to Guadalcanal. The only Medal of Honor recipient for the U.S. Coast Guard was Douglas Monroe, where he was operating a machine gun on a landing craft to rescue a Marine unit on the beach. So the Coast Guard does serve in wartime. When 9/11 happened, the Coast Guard went from control of the Department of Transportation to the newly formed Department of Homeland Security, and that's where it is now. And that just gives you a kind of an idea of the importance of the Coast Guard changing its role and adapting, and being always ready to adapt. I enlisted in 1997. I was recently out of college. I was working up in Tallahassee in politics and government. I didn't like that work, and so I was trying to get into flight school to be a helicopter pilot. They wouldn't take me because the Coast Guard's so small. I finally went to the recruiter's office because I wanted to do it so bad, and I just enlisted. So I had a college degree, and I enlisted, and next thing I know, I was off to boot camp and I enlisted in the reserves, and I had this crazy idea that I was going to be in the reserves and do other things, and it would be great, be like a firefighter or something. But so I went through boot camp, went through advanced training to drive boats, and my rate was a bosun mate, which is a boat driver in the Coast Guard. That's the best rate in the Coast Guard. And immediately got into search and rescue, and was stationed in Miami Beach, and I quickly got into seeing what the Coast Guard does in terms of drug interdiction. I didn't do that myself, but the rest of the units I worked with did. But mainly I was doing search and rescue and migrant interdiction off Miami. And then I moved back to Gainesville to go to law school, and then 9/11 happened. And when that happened, I got activated, and I was on active duty full-time for several years. And again, Semper Paratus, always be ready. And the Coast Guard completely changed from being more search and rescue, drug interdiction, to stand up, full-on military. Our uniforms changed. We went from looking like gas station attendants to having battle dress uniforms like the other branches. The Navy was wondering who we were when we pull up in our small boats to guard the Navy bases. All of a sudden, the U.S. Navy realized we need the Coast Guard domestically, because the Coast Guard is the only branch of the military that actually has law enforcement authority in the United States. If you lawyers know the Posse Comitatus Act, which says the U.S. military cannot have any law enforcement authority in the United States, and obviously for good reasons. But the U.S. Coast Guard, which was started in 1789 by Alexander Hamilton, if I get my facts right, was for the purpose of interdicting shipping coming into the United States to levy taxes. And so from that history, the Coast Guard has always had customs authority. It gives us the authority to board ships, search ships, and that legal authority became, under the Department of Homeland Security, a huge factor in terms of keeping the country safe and checking our ports, port security, and that's when my unit immediately got retrained, re-outfitted to board vessels, tanker ships, anything coming in wherever we were assigned to check for basically bad guys.
Thanks. You included part of my next question, so I'll take it to Chris. Chris, this is the era of the all-voluntary military. What inspired you to join the Marine Corps?
Well, I had a horrible first semester at Florida State, and and I didn't want to go home and tell my parents that. So.
Great answer. And we assume it's very truthful.
But I saw, obviously I held my father and my grandfather in great regards, even though neither one of them were the type of guys that, would spout off about anything that they went through in the Pacific or in Vietnam as young enlisted Marines. But I sure as heck knew what a man was, and I respected both of them. And, I wanted to see if I had what it took to be one of the best, or be the best.
Good. We have it's a good habit, but as many of you know, I was married to a military man. And he taught me something. And it was, when you see someone that has an indication that they served, often it's a hat or a jacket or something, most people say thank you for your service, and that's all well and good. But I noticed that he'd say, where did you serve? And that question, where did you serve, would allow them to start telling their story. And so I guess the question to you, Chris, is where did you serve?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Put this up.
Sorry. My first deployment was to Bosnia-Herzegovina after the genocide there. So I went there as a baby lieutenant and kind of cut my teeth. And then, a couple deployments with NATO prior to 9/11. There were, nothing burgers, just long exercises and things like that. And then once the towers went down, like Byron said, everything changed in terms of the deployment cycle and the op tempo for all the armed services, but definitely the Marine Corps. And several deployments over to Africa, to Horn of Africa. There was always a lot of hot spots going on that you didn't see on the evening news a lot. That there were Marines in the Philippines, there were Marines in Africa, and they were all doing the exact same missions that were going on in Iraq.
And where did you serve?
Florida. And Georgia, which I didn't like. It's hostile territory. No, but
Only on the football field.
Right. The way the Coast Guard was set up, those of us that were reservists were tied to more local units, and but had a lot of friends that volunteered to go overseas and did. We had reservists right here in Florida in the Coast Guard who actually served in Afghanistan, where they were helping the Army, teaching the Army how to load hazmat materials for shipping. The Coast Guard serves all over the world. But luckily for me, my service was here in Florida, and so I didn't have to do some of the other difficult things others did.
Well, thank you. We didn't know we were being taken care of, did we? Any of you have any questions? We've got just a few minutes left. Okay, well, oh, wait, we got one over here.
Mine is a question, but more thank you for your services, because when I hear post 9/11, I was just 5 months in America. I had no idea what was going on. Once it was explained to me, I did not stutter. I told American, welcome to my world. And so that means so much when I hear about the military. In fact, my cousin, to pay America back, joined and served in Iraq as a Marine. So I say the few, the proud, the Marines. My question is transition. I recently was invited to speak at Quantico, and it's this relationship between the nonprofit and the military, the communication. 2013, there was a war in Sudan, and I was doing humanitarian. I got caught in there. The Marines came and tried to rescue me, and they did a wonderful job. And I was just a naturalized American citizen in 2009. So I cannot thank you enough for what you do. I was rescued. You did not just say it's just a migrant. You guys have rescued us. So my question is regard to the relationship once you leave the military to be civilian, that dialogue, how easy or how hard is it to transition from there from a leadership perspective? Thank you.
I'll let you know when I actually accomplish that. I think about my Marines, honest to God, every 5 minutes it goes through my head. So, and I can't help it, but I love them. So you never fully transition. And I know exactly what was going down. I'm assuming Darfur. So I know exactly what you went through, and I want to tell you what a wonderful honor it is for me to meet you, and because I know what you've been through and what it took to get you here. So it's awesome that you did that.
Go ahead. You want to ask a question?
Go ahead.
I'll just quickly answer. For me, it wasn't that difficult to transition back to civilian life because I was here in my home. Although I will tell you, I felt a lot of sense of mission in what we were doing, because it was not just my duty, but my home state and my home community. And some of the things that I learned, how we could be vulnerable here at home and still are, is pretty amazing. The Coast Guard's one of its main missions is humanitarian, to save lives and search and rescue. And if you're not aware, just go on the internet. Every day the Coast Guard is in the Caribbean, in the Gulf of Mexico, in the Pacific, saving lives, saving migrants. I miss the mission. There are times I still want to go back in.
thanks to both of you. I think you've given us a different view than many of us might have had of how you feel both when you're there, when you're a part of a military unit, and when you have finished your time. It's been very helpful, and we appreciate your both being here. Thank you so much. Yes.
I just want to quickly add that there was two other gentlemen that couldn't make it today, and I want to say their names. Spence Hoover, U.S. Army. Some of the photos that have been up are of him and his crew in Afghanistan. He enlisted after 9/11. He's younger than me and Chris, and the reason he enlisted was because of 9/11. And also John Truitt, another lawyer in my law firm, he was actually enlisted before 9/11 and then recalled in the inactive ready reserve and served in Iraq.
And thank you all so much.
Thank you very much. Margaret, that's a wonderful program that you and Pete put together. In your honor, we'll make a donation to the Child Center for Early Learning. Byron and Chris, thank you so much for joining us today and participating and sharing your story. Really appreciate you and what you've done for our country. Our guests today, Cadence and Dwayne, wonderful having you with us today. Really appreciate you joining us and hope to see you again soon. The speaker for next week is Joseph Orr with the Boy Scouts of America. So looking forward to that program. The quote for the week: "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude." That's from Harry S. Truman. Yes, ma'am.
I just received word that my predecessor as chairman of this committee, George Mazzio, is in the hospital right now, or he would have been here today. So if you have a chance to drop a card or to get some information, please do. Thank you.
The Rotary Reading Safari number is 391-391. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.